Welcome to Beat 'em to the Punch, everybody. This is episode number 10, and today we're going to start with a little exercise called List Everybody in the Top 15 of the Lightweight Division. Jason and I are going to be fighting for this bad boy right here to see who's the Extreme Champ. And then we're going to go into a little bit of discussion about UFC 269, baby. Let's go.
List the top 15 lightweights in order here, starting with the champ, obviously Charles Oliveira.
We got Charles Oliveira.
And then we got Dustin Poirier.
Number one ranked Dustin Poirier.
Justin Gaethje.
We got Justin Gaethje.
Beneil Dariush. Islam Makhachev. And then Michael Chandler.
It's going to be Mike Chandler.
RDA.
I think it's a little dicey. So after Mike Chandler, I believe we have Rafael Dos Anjos.
And then Tony Ferguson.
I think it's El Kukui, Tony Ferguson.
Dan Hooker. Conor McGregor. Gregor Gillespie. Rafael Fiziev
after the recent win.
Diego Ferreira. Arman Tsarukyan. And number 14, we got Brad Riddell. And then Joel Alvarez coming in at number 15.
Joel Alvarez. I don't think I missed anyone. We'll see. So, since we both got them all right, we're going to do a little speed round here. Our producer Gabe's going to yell out a ranking, and then me and Jason we're going to go as fast as we can. We're going to see if we can try and get the guy who's in that ranking. Dan Hooker.
11.
Rafael Fiziev.
Damn it.
13.
Arman Tsarukyan.
14.
Brad Riddell.
Alright, read it.
Ooh.
No.
I'm the champ, son. Alright, so now it's time for business. All jokes aside, let's talk about UFC 269, Jason, starting with the fight that we're all looking forward to, and that's going to be Charles Oliveira versus Dustin Poirier. What do you think?
Oh, man. I spent a long time thinking about this fight. And I have such a hard time deciding who I think is going to win. It's such a tough call.
Yeah.
After hours of consideration, I've come to the conclusion that Charles Oliveira is going to defend the lightweight belt against Dustin Poirier in spectacular fashion.
Well, it's got to be. There's no way this fight doesn't end in spectacular fashion. How do you think he gets it done, though?
Honestly, I think it's even his striking was really good. Like I look at how he knocked out Michael Chandler, so that's no joke, man.
Yeah.
So he could honestly, I don't see Poirier getting knocked out really. Could be a TKO if he gets him down there. Could be a submission. We know Charles can do that.
Yeah.
I just think he's gonna win, man. I don't know how he's gonna get it done, but I just don't doubt the guy at this point. And that being said, it's so hard to doubt Dustin Poirier after everything he's accomplished in the UFC. But
yeah,
I had to pick one eventually, and I'm going Charles, man. I'm going Charles.
This one goes deep though. This fight definitely goes deep. Both these guys are too. The belt's upside down. Both these guys are just like too durable and too tough not to take this fight into the deep rounds. Like I think per se, if Poirier were to win, it's gonna be either by decision, by TKO, or by KO. And if Oliveira wins, it could be in any number of ways. But I just don't think it's happening in the early rounds. Like both these guys are way too tough to let that happen. With that being said, I'm gonna take Poirier. agree with Jason that it took me a long ass time to figure it out, but I just based on who Poirier's beaten, I have a feeling he's going to make it through to those late rounds and he's going to get it done by TKO in round 4. I think he's going to be able to weather the storm. Obviously, the main concern with that is the fact that Oliveira's Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is it's tip top. I don't know if you can argue there's anyone in the UFC with better Jiu-Jitsu, and also his striking is very legit as well. So I'm taking Poirier. I think he can get it done. I mean, he's pretty much beaten everyone in this weight class, right? Aside from Khabib, like he was absolutely rolling through guys. I kind of just think it's his time.
Yeah, no, that's a completely respectable pick for that fight, man. It's such a tough one, but I think you're right about there's no way it ends before the 4th or 5th round if it doesn't go for the full decision.
I can see it going the whole way, too.
I absolutely can see it going to decision with these two guys.
That said, I'd advise you guys to keep this one off your parlay. This is a close frickin' fight. This really could go either way, so yeah. I'm definitely not putting money on this. If you do want to bet on it, just one-off bet on it. I get it. Maybe you have a hunch. Keep it off the frickin' parlay. It's too risky.
Yeah, I'm not touching this fight with my parlay.
Yeah.
I'm picking Charles Oliveira, but it could really honestly go either way with these guys.
Yeah, I'm not ashamed to say that. Do you think there's any chance that there's been some rumors, although Poirier denied them? You think there's any chance that Poirier retires after this fight?
It wouldn't be smart. Like, there's lots of money to be made for Poirier.
With regards to the McGregor fight?
Regards to McGregor or even just being the champ. Like, there's other guys. I'd love to see Poirier fight Gaethje again. Mm-hmm. I actually think that needs to happen if he wins the belt. If Charles wins the belt, I'd love to see him fight Gaethje too, but that first Poirier-Gaethje fight was such a good fight. Like,
classic.
That needs to happen again, in my opinion.
Do you think Gaethje's the automatic next man up?
I think so. Both guys basically called him out. Mm-hmm. Like Charles Oliveira said, if I get through Poirier, I'll be waiting for you, Gaethje. I'm pretty sure, I mean, unless Poirier retires, but I think it's kind of been set in motion that Gaethje is the next in contention for a title, right?
Yeah, I mean, as he should be. We have Makhachev versus Derrick in I think it's March or something, and that's perfect. That's perfect for me. It makes perfect sense.
Absolutely.
We can't forget about Derrick in all of this. He was pissed about not getting the title shot, which, to be honest, I think is kind of stupid. He took like 6 months off. He looks super legit, but I don't think he deserves it quite yet. And honestly, yeah. So the winner of this should fight Gaethje next, and then the winner of that should fight. It's probably going to be Derrick or Makhachev.
Yeah, most likely Makhachev or Makhachev, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, let's not get too ahead of ourselves here.
Yeah.
So fight number 2, we have Juliana Pena versus Amanda Nunes. Who do you have in this one, Jason?
Oh my God. I obviously have Amanda Nunes winning the fight, but I'm not putting it on my parlay, but just because of the odds, like I kind of want to throw a little bit of money on Juliana Pena for the 1 in 100 chance that she wins this fight. Just because it's such a deficit in the odds, like it would make sense, but I wouldn't bet on it. Amanda Nunes is probably going to win this fight.
Definitely.
You could almost say definitely. But yeah.
I'm not even doing all that. I don't freaking put money on Juliana Pena. It's honestly, and I'm not even. She's good, but she's kind of just the next person for Amanda Nunes. If we're being honest here, she just hasn't really done all that much that's impressed me. She's coming off a win against Sarah McMahon in January, right? Before that, she lost to Jermaine Durandamy, which, I mean, tough competitor, but like. That's still like a loss. Before that, she beat Nico Montano, which is good, and prior to that, she lost to Shevchenko, which, I mean, there's no shame in that, but like she's 3-2 in her last 5 fights, so I'm not like overly impressed.
Yeah, that doesn't look good going into a fight against Nunez, who's like an undefeated champion.
Yeah,
like if and Nunez has beat. All the people who have beat her too, so that doesn't look good going into this fight.
Yeah, I honestly think it has more to do with just like Nunez is just just way better than the competitors, it would seem right now. So I don't really think Pena can get there. With that being said, I actually did put this on my parlay. I know it's low value, but just like with the parlay pick, I have like a 5-fight parlay. I think it makes sense to throw it on there for some extra value. That's how sure of this victory I am for Nunes.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's a smart one to put on there. There's no way she loses.
And things get interesting here. So the next fight, we have Jeff Neal versus Santiago Ponzinibbio, the Argentine dagger. How do you see this one going, Jason?
Oh man, I really like Ponzinibbio. Really good fighter. I think he wins. I have this on my parlay. I have Ponzinibbio winning the fight. Geoff Neal's no joke, but I just think Ponzinibbio's better. I think he's stronger. I think he's got more power.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I honestly I agree with that. And I mean, like these guys are actually pretty similar when you go down their like past stat sheet. Like Ponzinibbio, he's coming off that really good win against a really, really legit competitor in Miguel Baeza, and actually one of the fights of the year too. It's like a come from behind win. Mm-hmm. Just shows like the tenacity. It says a lot to me character wise. Like there's no quit. He's losing halfway through the second round and then just flipped the switch, got the win against a really good upcoming contender. Before that, he actually lost to Jingliang Li. Mm-hmm. But to be fair, like prior to that fight, he's just gotten absolutely screwed with like injury issues. Like he had like a bacterial infection issue and he had like a 3-year layoff. So I think when he came back, like he just took a really tough round 1 loss against a guy who can hit hard. But I mean, before then, this guy's absolutely rolling. Like Neal Magny win, Mike Perry, Gunnar Nelson, and like prior to that time off, and when he lost the fight first, he actually was on like a 7-fight win streak, including most recently Neal Magny, there's a lot to be said for that.
Yeah.
But I mean, at the other end of the spectrum too, like I was saying earlier, we're actually looking at something pretty similar with Geoff Neal, right? So he's actually just coming off a recent loss against Neal Magny, and before that Stephen Thompson. So he's 2 losses in a row. But before that, I mean, he's on a 7-fight win streak as well, like Mike Perry, Nico Price, Bilal Muhammad. So super legit. But honestly, I mean, it's the 2-fight win streak for one, and the other thing is like he has a little bit of I don't necessarily trust what's going on in his life right now. I don't know. He just got a DUI like last month, which I mean, if he's John Jones, I'm not gonna question it. But prior to then, he said he's gonna take a little bit of time off, undisclosed issues, which I don't want to be presumptuous, but could mean a number of things. And then to get that DUI like while you're in training camp is like it's really not a good look. No. You know? Like that's when you have to like you get down to discipline. And we're talking about, I think it was like early November, so that should be like right middle of training camp, like when you're really dialing it in.
You probably shouldn't be driving around drunk.
No, or of course not. But like specifically, I'm saying like
during your
he's drinking and like driving during like what might be, I don't know if it'd be quite like the wind down to weight cut, but at that point you have to watch your weight. So it's like a number of things like discipline in multiple areas. So I just don't really necessarily trust the personal character.
He's taking a note out of the John Jones book, greatest of all time.
Oh boy.
But no, that's a perfect. That makes perfect sense. And I think if Ponzinibbio comes in healthy, I think he definitely gets the win.
Yeah, me too. And I think honestly, I think the Ponzinibbio boat is going to get back on track here. I think he's going to come up as a contender. He's ranked somewhere between 10 and 15 right now, but I think this would be a huge win for him because Geoff Neal's a little higher up than him. I think he gets it done by decision. I don't think it's going to be easy, but yeah, I think 3-round battle. What are you thinking?
Yeah, no, it could definitely be a 3-round battle that could also end out in a knockout at any point during the fight. I've seen Ponzinibbio knock guys right out.
Yeah.
Like I was watching him before, he had that bit of a layoff, and then I was like, what happened to Ponzinibbio? And then now he's back. So let's see what happens.
Yeah, I'm excited, man. Like if you even just look at the stat line here, like Ponzinibbio finishes a lot of guys, right? He has like 15 TKOs/KOs. He actually has 6 submissions as well. So that's a very legitimate part of his game. And then when you go to Joff Neal, obviously he has fewer fights, but he has 8 TKOs and 2 submissions. So these guys, they tend to not go to decision. That being said, I kind of think this is a scenario where it kind of what's the term? I guess like
A clash.
It's a clash, and they like. I think they're both gonna fight pretty technically because they know kind of what they're going into here. Both of these guys have a lot of power. I think Ponzinibbio by decision, and you're going with that as well.
I'm definitely going Ponzinibbio win. I can't really pinpoint how he's gonna get it done. I do think he could get a TKO or a KO. Yeah, there's definitely the possibility throughout the fight that could happen. Yeah. This is definitely a fight of the night candidate. Too. Oh, I think so. 100%. I might put the Tuivasa one in, fight it. I don't know. Yeah. Actually, that's a tough one. But a lot of good fights on this card.
Oh, yeah. This is my parlay pick number 1. I'm taking Santiago Ponzinibbio. So the next fight we've got, this is another interesting one. Like you said, stacked cards. So we've got Cody Garbrandt against Kai Kara France.
Another tough one. Is this Cody's first fight in this weight class?
It's his first fight at flyweight.
Okay, so we'll see how he looks at flyweight. I have a tough time picking a winner for this fight just because it's so hard to know like what Cody you're gonna get. Like
absolutely.
Like that's a big factor, right? You don't know what he's gonna come in like. So
yeah. No, I agree. I mean, like a lot of the guys we see come down, like they're looking a little bit chinny. And they lose some of their power, lose their gas tank. That being said, like there's a big possibility. I mean, Garbrandt undoubtedly he was pretty small for bantamweight. I think he walks around at about like 150, which pretty small. Like that's a 25-pound weight cut. I don't think that flyweight will be too much of an issue for him. So I can see him coming in and looking really good. That being said, like speed's kind of been a big advantage for him in the past. Obviously not with Rob Font. But these guys at flyweight, like maybe I'm just buying into the whole Kai Kara France narrative here, but he's saying those guys are freaking fast. Like it's not like Cody can come in and be the fastest guy like he's sort of relied on at bantamweight.
Mm-hmm. No, I think you're absolutely right. I think there's going to be a definite speed deficit. Mm-hmm. Like, oh man, these flyweights are so fast. Like it's incredible to watch. So we'll see. Like maybe he'll be quick. I mean, he cut the weight. He's not slow in bantamweight.
He is pretty fast to his credit.
Yeah, but Kai Kara France is no joke, man.
He's legit.
He's legit. He's very well rounded too, I believe. Mm-hmm. So I kind of feel like I'm kind of leaning towards him a little bit. I think he's gonna win. And these Australians, like, they go hard, man.
Yeah, he's got a great camp with Adesanya, with Riddell.
Yeah.
Who I don't know. Do you remember who else is in the
camp?
camp?
Probably Tuivasa. Who knows, man?
Yeah, a bunch of guys. But yeah, I mean, he's legit. He's well rounded. He's fast. The one concern I see for Kai Kara France in this fight is we know Cody Garbrandt is powerful. That's the thing. So if he loses his power when he goes down, I would not have any issues taking Kai Kara France here. But like we don't know. Like he's always kind of had that one punch knockout power. So if he retains it, he might just be the most powerful guy in that weight class.
Yeah. I mean, that's the big question, is to see how much the weight cut affects him.
Yeah.
Like, look at what happened to TJ trying to go down to 25. Like, he literally had to resort to taking EPO because his body was shutting down on him. But, I mean, Cody's probably, it looks like he's handling the weight cut and stuff a bit better than that. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, we'll just see what he comes in looking like.
Yeah, to your point, actually, TJ is not a big bantamweight either, really. Mm-hmm. So, and that weight cut decimated him. Mm-hmm. So I don't think we're going to see that with Cody, but I mean, we could. That being said, I actually really like the move for Cody. I think it was time for a change of scenery. 1-4 in his last 5 fights.
Yeah.
Time to make a change, and
he wasn't going anywhere at bantamweight.
No, that's a deep division too, to be fair. But yeah, I just because I feel like it's the more safe bet, I'm agreeing with you taking Kai Kara France and wiping that one from the parlay. That's a no-go for me. We don't really know what we're getting with Garbrandt.
Yeah, even though I think Garbrandt is the favorite in that fight.
Yeah, he is.
I still think France. I think he wins.
It'll be a good fight either way. Let's move on. So the next fight and the final fight on this main card is Sugar Shawn O'Malley versus Ralian Pavia. How do you see this one going, Jason?
Well, this one's on my parlay. This is my lock. I'm never gonna doubt my boy Sugar Shawn. He's got this in the bag. It's gonna be easy for him.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a first round knockout, maybe second round knockout. We'll see. But yeah.
I actually like this fight a little more than Jason does. So, Ralian Pavia he's coming off a big win over, coincidentally, Sugar Shawn's teammate, Kyler Phillips, who is a very legit talent as well. To be honest, I kind of thought he won that fight, but I wasn't necessarily upset by the decision there for Pavia to get the win. He's definitely durable. He's very tough, and my only concerns are kind of that Sugar Shawn chases the finish a little bit too much with this guy, maybe underestimates like how tough he is. And then there's also some other routes he can take. So he has a bit of a ground game. Again, we haven't really seen what Sugar Shawn's ground game is, so it's possible that Pavia could take a really takedown heavy approach. I'm not overly concerned about that. And then I just think he's going to really try and pressure him, and he's going to try and do leg stuff. So I think he's going to go for leg kicks, and I think he's going to really try and check the leg kicks, which, to be fair, it's easier said than done. Yeah. Obviously, Sugar Shawn's a really fast guy. So.
And Sugar Shawn's probably got the, I would think he has the reach advantage.
Big time, yeah.
Like a considerable one.
Yeah, that's huge in this fight.
Yeah, so that's a big factor. If Sugar Shawn can keep him at range, he's probably going to pick him apart. But if Pavia can make it messy, bust up the legs, maybe get inside, who knows, man? Yeah,
no, I agree with you. I think, in a way, like, I don't want to say last fight was like a prototype of what you have to do, but because obviously the guy who Sugar Shawn beat in the last fight got pieced up, but I think if Pavia can pressure him, his technical skills are a lot better than that guy. So if he can just get up in Shawn's face, sort of like stay closer, like stay out of the pocket, because when you're in the pocket with Shawn O'Malley, you're just in big trouble. So he just kind of has to put the pressure on, make Sugar Shawn walk back. But that being said, I'm definitely taking Sugar Shawn in this one. I just don't think anyone outside of top 10 really, especially someone who's not a ground specialist, can handle Shawn O'Malley. And yeah, honestly, I will take him for a second round finish just based on, like I said, how durable Pavia is.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking, like a second round. Maybe I was jumping the gun on the first round knockout, but second round seems reasonable. I think Sugar Shawn cracks him by then.
Okay, and other than those 5 main card fights, what else are you looking at on this like whole card, and you're like, that is a badass fight?
I'm really hyped about I like the Tuivasa Augusto fight.
Yeah,
that one is probably going to be an incredible fight. It's probably going to be just a war, if I had to guess.
With Tuivasa, it tends to be. Yeah. I think he's going to put a lot of pressure on Augusto Sakai pretty early there, which he could crack him. But with that being said, Augusto Sakai is a pretty good defensive fighter. He tends to fight relatively conservatively, especially in those early rounds. He has a lot of finishes, but they're all like third round finishes, so it's mostly like TKO stuff.
Right.
So I think the route to victory for Augusto Sakai is going to be like just take him to those late rounds. Just hope that his cardio burns out.
Just don't get knocked out in the first 2.
Yeah. And my favorite outside of those main card fights is I'm definitely going with the Josh Emmett versus Dan Ige fight. Yeah, this is just a sick fight.
I got that one on my parlay. I got Dan Ige.
And we'll go into that.
Yeah.
We will go into that. It's just exciting to me because obviously we kind of know what we're getting with Dan Ige. He's just like so well-rounded. He's so well-rounded. We've seen a lot of good stuff from him. Obviously he's coming off a tough loss to Korean Zombie, but I mean, with that being said, I don't know that you can really take that much away from him for that fight. I mean,
think it was close.
It was close,
Yeah.
and Korean Zombie's been so good for so long too.
Mm-hmm.
And then with Josh Emmett, I would be honestly, it's always exciting to see him fight because you could argue he has more power than like anyone else in that division. He's just a really powerful dude. He's coming off a win against Shane Burgos, in which apparently he snapped his ACL in the first round of that fight, and he still found a way to get it done by decision, which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
So the narrative with Josh Emmett is kind of just like injuries. Like I'm not gonna go through it all, but it's just like injury after injury. He seems to have worse luck than maybe anyone in the UFC.
Yeah.
He just tends to get injured after his fights. But I mean, that being said, he's rolling though. Like he just finds a way to win most nights. And yeah, like I think this is going to be an absolute war, and Josh Emmett's on my parlay. I think he can get it done. And with that being said, let's go to the betting corner aspect of our podcast, and let's talk about those fights on your parlay that we haven't covered yet.
Okay. I like it. So I'll start from the main card and I'll work my way down.
Yeah, tell me what you've got.
Yeah. So I had I mentioned earlier I'm taking Ponzinibbio. I'm feeling good about that one. Sugar Sean O'Malley is my lock. I'm
Nice.
pretty confident that he wins this fight. And then just saying I'm taking Dan Ige over Josh Emmett. Just because Ige's been looking pretty good. I don't know a ton about Emmett, but what you're saying about the injuries, I looked at. I mean, not that it means anything, not that age means anything. Look, Glover just won the belt, but I think it's still a factor to consider. We got Dan Ige, 30 years old, Josh Emmett's 38. That's a pretty considerable age difference.
It is.
You're in your physical prime at 30, so I'm leaning slightly towards Dan Ige. Also, like knowing that he's had good fights previously, he's well-rounded. The guy's no joke, so that's kind of why I'm picking Ige over Emmett in this specific one.
Yeah, it's yes and no for me. Like, I feel like a healthy Josh Emmett, I would be extremely bullish on in this fight, but just like the age thing, I feel like is a factor in this case, just because of his like past injuries. Like we see it with guys all the time. We saw it with Tony. I mean, he's not that old, but like with regards to fight years, it just, you know, when you get hit as much as he does, it starts to catch up with you eventually. So I picked Josh Emmett to win because I still think he has it in him to get it done. Like I said with Ponzinibbio earlier, I just think this guy has a lot of heart. I think he can get it done, and that's why he is on my parlay. But as you were saying, who are your next picks?
So my next one after Dan Ige over Emmett was Muniz. What's his first name?
Andre
Muniz against Eric Anders. And
Roll Tide.
Yeah. Your boy, Eric Anders. I'm taking, so I'm not picking Eric to win this fight, although I do like him. But I think Muniz he's undefeated in the UFC. He hasn't lost in a couple years. He just snapped Jacare Souza's arm, right?
Yeah, that was sick.
And you look at what Eric Anders been doing in the UFC. Yeah, he has some cool wins, but he has losses too. It's a lot of back and forth, win loss. He's never been as consistent as Muniz has, and I think Muniz is better. I think he's probably been fighting longer. He probably has more experience. Eric Anders used to be a football player, so he's an athlete, but that doesn't necessarily mean he's as experienced in MMA or the UFC as some of these guys. So that's why I'm not taking him. I'm taking Muniz to win that one, and then my last fight on my
wait. Let's dig into the Muniz one because we'll knock it out too because I actually have Andre Muniz as well, I think you covered it pretty well. He hasn't lost since 2016.
Yeah.
He like you said as well, actually, he has quite a few fights. So he has 25 fights versus Anders, like, I believe it's about 20 fights. 19 fights.
Yeah.
And, like, he's on a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He's on a 7-fight win streak. The concern is here, I'd be extremely bullish, but the concern is he doesn't really have that type of standing game that Eric Anders does. And Eric Anders he's bit of a bigger, stronger guy. But I mean,
100%.
the numbers kind of speak for themselves here. He's
Yeah.
on a 7-fight win streak, and he finds the submission, right? Like we talk about this, it's literally TKO, submission, decision, submission, decision, submission, submission. So he finds a way to get it done on the ground, and I mean the stats don't lie too. I mean, we talk about Jacare, obviously he's a little bit older at that time. That was his last UFC fight, but still he's a very high caliber Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu fighter, and Nunes schooled him, I think we can comfortably say, in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So yeah, numbers don't lie. Andre Nunes.
Yeah. And then, so my last fight on the parlay, it was Ryan Hall versus Derrick Minner. And this one's a weird one. I basically made my pick based around the odds of this fight. I picked Minner because he's a pretty significant underdog. So just for the sake of betting, it will make money. And I really did not like the way Ryan Hall looked in his last fight. Like, obviously, he's got a good ground game, but you can't just sit on the ground and scooch around on your ass. And like, that was just, I don't know, I didn't like that. So if he does that again, I really don't think he wins the fight. And yeah, so basically based off the odds and just Ryan Hall being weird, I'm picking Derrick Minner to win this fight. And that's my last parlay pick.
This is not on my parlay, but I want to go in on this a little bit just because I think Jason's dead wrong with this one. I think he has an agenda in his head that he's not realizing because he watched Ryan Hall's last fight, which was like, if you didn't see it, don't watch it. Just take my word for it. You do not want to see it. He's fighting against a like really talented up and comer in Ilia Topuria, I believe. And he clearly does not want to get in any striking engagements with him. He's just going for the legs. He's diving for legs until eventually he gets TKO'd. But I think Jason's wrong about this. I think Derrick Minner's not necessarily, doesn't really fancy himself a striker either. He's a good wrestler. In his last fight, he lost to Darren Elkins. He actually, to his credit, beat Darren Elkins for about a round and a half, and then he just gassed himself out, and Elkins beat him. I think when it gets to the ground, I think it's going to be a good opportunity for Ryan Hall to get some of his signature Ryan Hall finishes, unless we see Derrick Minner take a different approach here. We'll see.
Yeah, it is a tough one. Like I said, I based most of my picking on that around the odds, just because
value.
It's a high value pick. Yeah,
That's fair.
Yeah.
Okay, so for my parlay, we covered most of these, but I'm going with Sugar Sean O'Malley, Amanda Nunes, which is my lock. I know, I'm a coward. I don't care. I'm going Santiago Ponzinibbio. I'm going Andre Nunes, and I'm taking Josh Emmett. So actually, yeah, we covered all of those, but I feel really good about my picks here, and I'm really ready to go for UFC 269. This is a great card.
Woo!
This is really a really nice one to take us into the holidays.
Getting pumped, man. It's Christmas time. It's fight time, baby.
It is. Yeah, I'm pumped about this
And
card.
next time I'm taking that damn belt from you, boy.
Oh, we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see. You're still my son. I'm still the champ. This guy can talk all he wants, but I'm keeping this
Got
belt.
the reigning, undefeated, undisputed, beat him to the punch champion right over here. Freaking tough guy.
All right, guys. I think that pretty much wraps up everything we want to say. Thanks for checking us out this week. Hope to see you next time. This has been Beat 'em to the Punch with Aaron J. Peace out.
Peace.